late 70s and early 80s was gathered together and buying up the rights to Herschel's classic films like Blood Feast, and was instrumental really in preserving these films and getting them out. You know, all of those of us who saw them on home video, those big box home videos in the 80s, that was like really due to Jimmy working on that stuff. Jimmy and Eric Hayden, who also does the Grindhouse Nights, would be buying those rights up and putting them together. So let me start with you maybe about how, you know, being a fan of Herschel and tracking down the films and the negatives and buying up the rights, and how that led to Blood Diner later on.
Got the rights. I think I saw Blood Feast when I was 16 and 15 in the early 70s, and I kept thinking about it over and over. It was playing citywide. Anyway, I just had a few years later, I just had this idea, I want to try to get the rights to that film. I didn't know anything about the business. It took me about a year to find out that a guy named Stan Colbert owned it in Chicago, who had basically hired Herschel to shoot it, where they financed it. And at the time I was thinking about midnight movies, and then we were doing some theatrical stuff. I think Dukey and I did the Forsyth Theater, where I think Rhino Records put out a vinyl of Blood Feast 2000 Maniacs. Anybody have that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really worthwhile right now.
Yeah, and then Dukey showed up as Fuller Ramses Jr., and we had a Blood Feast eating contest.
We did. Somebody just emailed me, contacted me yesterday on Facebook, and said that they were one of the kids that entered the Blood Feast eating contest. We put like 12 Twinkies covered in like, each one had a can of cherry pie filling on top of it. And nobody, after like about 3, people just couldn't get past it. They just started throwing the Twinkies at me and stuff like that. One kid tried really hard, and he barfed in front of everybody there. And then when he sat back, and he was sitting next to the Cramps, and looks at, and Ivy congratulated him on barfing, and Ivy kissed him on the cheek, so he said it was like a big moment of his life.
Oh, then we had a showing at the Fox Venice.
That's right.
It's like early 80s?
Yeah, early 80s. This is, yeah, maybe. This was probably before that. And some women's group got wind of it. They didn't like the portrayal of a woman tied up in 2000 Maniacs, which wasn't even, it was just, it was in the ad, so they started protesting. They started putting pressure on Landmark not to show 2000 Maniacs and Blood Feast because of violence against women and all that stuff. And then Dukey and I and Eric organized a bunch of, they had a big protest, so the next week we organized a bunch of protesters to protest them.
That's right.
Yeah, and then I got like a 5-page write-up in the LA Times.
Yeah. We got the pictures.
Movies
They didn't take pictures of them, they took pictures of us. They were just really pissed off. I remember I was holding a placard that said, I'd rather be dead than Disneyed, and I had like a big nail spike sticking out of my head.
You can probably find that picture in the LA Times archives.
Maybe.
And then, yeah, in the early 80s, I went to Dukey with the idea we should do a sequel to Blood Feast. And we just sat down thinking about ideas night after night, and then Dukey wrote the script. And first it was Blood Feast 2, and then I can't remember, Blood Diner ended up being, my girlfriend's sister was actually Jackie Kong when I was like 16, so that's how I knew Jackie. And then Dukey and I were trying to get this thing financed, but the years didn't happen. Then Jackie independently got some deal with Vestron and brought the money to do the film. And of course she was directing.
And I think people feel, like you mentioned seeing this in the early 70s. I mean, this film was 1963, but these films kept getting re-released.
Yeah, it was like in 25 theaters in 72.
And even in the early 70s, I think it's hard to understand today when everything is out there on Netflix and there's so many films of this, that the impact that a film like this, that Blood Feast would have had on somebody, you know, a teenager seeing this in the
It's true. It was like the first like bona fide gore film in color.
Yeah. When I first heard it, there was no video then. It was like 72. I bought a cassette recorder and put it up to the microphone of the drive-in and just recorded all the audio, and then I'd go to school and play people the audio.
Which itself is pretty disturbing, too.
Yeah.
How many other people experience these films at a young age? Like,
Yeah, I was pretty young there.
They definitely, you know, they definitely do have an impact on it. And then now the film gets in, and obviously, you know, Carl is one of the stars of the film. So maybe talk about how you got involved in the film once you guys put the financing together.
Once it got going on, then we started casting it, and we all like wore many hats. So I was producer, casting director, and someone gave me a lead on Rick and Carl. Rick Burks tragically died in a car accident, in about a year, in '88.
And I knew Rick from the rock and roll scene. He used to be in a band called the Daggers. He was a singer, and we did a lot of gigs together.
Yeah, some girl, Heather or something, referred him to us. And then I got a referral on Carl too. We were just having a problem trying to find the right two guys, you know, the nephews of Flyswatter.
There was a casting director who I met on some other movie set, and he kept saying, "Oh, we're going to be auditioning for this role, and they want a retard. They want somebody to come in and be retarded." And they said that all these people auditioned already, and they hated them. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to go in and go do, no. So I thought, what am I going to do? And I thought, I'm just going to play it slow, you know, just like, you know, a little touch, not duh. And whatever, it kind of went on from there. You know, you made me laugh so hard when you guys did that protest. Because when Blood Diner opened in San Francisco, we got fake protesters. We hired a bunch of bums on the street. And it was like, yeah, this rotten film, you know, and it was so funny, man. It was so funny. I will say one thing about Rick Burks, man, wow. What a brilliant guy, man. It was just an honor to work with him. He was hilarious, and he was like a really giving actor, you know, like people were kind of rough on the sets, you know, I won't say any names, but, you know, they played hardball, you know, just verbally tossing people around, and I was like, wow, what is this? And Rick said, man, just give it right back to him and laugh, you know? And I did, and then we had started having fun, you know, and it was really cool. He's a really good guy, man. He would stand there on the set when I was doing my close-ups and give me face, you know what I'm saying, so I could react to something. It was really, really cool, you know, and he was in a band, and a really cool band. I run a nightclub now. I run CIA, California Institute of Abnormal Arts.
Which is an amazing place.
My
We do all
band
the
played it
weirdest, crazy
recently.
stuff. I just wish, I know, Haunted Garage just played in my place. It was so cool.
It's a nightclub, a sideshow, it's a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, we got two-headed babies and dead clowns and all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, I know. But you know, it was just, I really wish Rick could have played at the club. Yeah, he had just so much potential.
Yeah, he was great.
We have tapes of
One of the reasons that we made his character like, you know, like slow, was because while we were writing it, we were kind of like envisioning in our heads who we want to play what. And so Jimmy told me he wanted, or Eric told me he wanted George the Animal Steel, the wrestler, to play Georgie Porgy. So, you know, and Georgie's not like, you know, the brightest penny in the bunch, you know. So we sort of like wrote it kind of like that, and we wanted Michael Berryman to be the other part. And Michael couldn't do it, or we couldn't afford it, I don't know what it was. There was so much about this movie I don't remember. Plus, I was barred off the set for a while. Jackie insisted no writers allowed. You know, it was one of those auteur rules or something like that. That made her just so endearing to everybody. Worked, I thought, because it's like, just even made it even more ridiculous, which really helps this film. Is that, like, you know, these guys look so nice, you know, they're really kind of handsome guys, and they're doing all these atrocious things in front of all these people who should, like, know better.
And so gleefully, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then adding the brain in and all that stuff. It's just, when we were tackling this, it was kind of like, you know, Blood Feast, you know, it had the hook as the gore, and it was really simple. I mean, you take that out, you don't have a movie really. So we decided to go the opposite way, especially since films around the time that we were writing were like pretty outrageous, like, you know, the Lucio Fulci zombie movies and Evil Dead and Reanimator. So we just like went opposite, like full tilt, and we poured in as much weirdness as we possibly could. And I think we kind of like overdid it for a while. It took like a lot of people to kind of like catch up to us. The word of mouth and the internet's been really good for this film. There's like about 12 reviews on the internet now where people are like talking like 20 minutes about it, you know? And it's like, dude, you know, all these like, a lot of teenagers and stuff like that really like this film a lot. And
I run into that a few times where people say, dude, I saw this movie when I was 8.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, are you serious? 8? Wow, you must be really hepped up now.
Obviously,
Now, I'm assuming most people have seen this film already, right? So, without giving away any plot points for the few who haven't, we're not going to be able to do a Q&A after the film, it'll be late, so I want to take a couple of quick questions before we go into the film, too.
Absolutely.
So a couple of questions for them before we go into the film, without giving away any key plot points.
I was always impressed with the soundtrack. How'd you get some of those songs?
Oh, I went down to, I was into doo-wop, I was into rockabilly as a kid, and I went down to Central Avenue to see Dukey Williams at Dutone Records, and he was basically the only person working there. And he licensed me like 10 songs, doo-wop songs, for $100 each for the film. It was amazing that happened like a couple years later, even though. But yeah, it was fine, $100 each.
And the
It was the best soundtrack.
The way they're used,
it'd be like
right?
$250. It'd be like $500,000 now to buy this
The
stuff.
song with the band's amazing.
Yeah, the song where there's a van scene in there that you all see, and it's like, it wouldn't be half as funny if it wasn't for the Mambo soundtrack.
Really?
Really amazing.
Anything you guys want to say, Carl, anyone else about, anything
It was
about the
just
film?
like an amazing roller coaster to make the film. It was my first lead role, and it was just like, I come from a theater background, and I was just kind of like gearing down from theater, and it was just so much fun, man. But it was grueling, especially the wrestling scene at the end, because there was one point it was the last stuff we shot, and we were wrestling in that big old giant Jimmy Hitler, man. I mean, that guy was huge, and like I literally threw him, but he threw me down one time and it cracked my back. I was like, ah, and I had to go to my dressing room for a while, man. It was like really overwhelming, but but we got through it.
I was the referee in the wrestling match.
Yeah, he was.
But what they went through, what they had accomplished, how much did the budget actually end up being?
I think it was $300K.
Yeah.
I don't know if all that went into the movie. Some of it went for building the swimming pool for Bill Osco, Jackie Kong.
It certainly didn't go into craft services. I remember one day I snuck into the set when they were shooting at Bronson Caves, and a friend of mine pointed to a table there, and the only thing on the table was like several loaves of Wonder Bread, a giant jar of mayonnaise, and like this big thing of bologna.
Craft service.
Craft services. And my friend goes, "That's been sitting there all day."
It's just ornamental.
Yeah. It was, but there was a lot of funny stuff going on, that's for sure. A lot of people have called me up recently and left messages on Facebook for me that they were extras in this film and stuff like that. Like a special edition coming out, and then it I did some interviews for it, and then it sort of disappeared. And then like last year, like out of the blue, Blood Diner shows up on a 6 horror film pack with some other good films too, like Fido and Parents and Earth Girls Are Easy.
Earth Girls Are Easy.
And it was at Walmart for like $5 for like the whole package.
And I mentioned also,
How did it end up not being One Piece 2?
I think Jackie just wanted to. I think Jackie didn't want. Herschel wasn't going to be involved, because Jackie didn't want that to happen, and I didn't want to be Bloodfeast 2 with Jackie directing.
were you hoping to get Herschel involved originally?
Yeah, originally we wanted Herschel.
To direct?
We wanted to direct. Yeah.
We actually planned after Blood Diner to do another Blood Feast 2, but I don't know what happened to it. But the script was pretty good. And then he's commissioned me and radio show host Johnny Angel to, we wrote a Blood Feast, the musical, but we're still trying to get financing for it. So this whole film, Blood Feast, has really like influenced my life over decades, as different things going through.
If you had to pick something to influence your whole life, Blood Feast is
Blood Feast should be it.
Amen. And I will say, I have a very scary announcement that the unofficial Blood Diner 2 is in the works. And we will be shooting it early next year, and it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly, so I'm really excited about that.
And And I'll mention too, if you enjoy Carl's role in this, a very different role. I saw a film when it first came out that creeped the hell out of me. He's also probably the creepiest Jeffrey Dahmer in a movie. Dahmer is so light.
My mother's still foaming at the mouth about that one. I actually had the chance to meet Jeffrey Dahmer, and I said, nah. But, yeah.
And my old band, Haunted Garage, we've reformed, and so check us out on Facebook, because we're playing a lot, and we've got a couple of members here tonight, and we do a whole blood and gore stage show too that goes with it. So
that's brilliant.
If you like this movie, that you'll like the band too. So
and Jimmy,
thanks a lot.
Jimmy's still working with the Herschel stuff. You got Blu-rays of the Blood trilogy out, and still doing rockabilly. Playing. If you want to see Jimmy, you can go see him in Finland and where else coming up.
And he's good. I couldn't believe how good he was. Man, I went on to YouTube and I saw him. I go, wow! I can't believe it. So wow, I never knew.
I'm playing Finland. Off this record I did when I was 14, I'm playing Finland and Germany and Italy, to my surprise this summer.
Wow, that's so cool.
Send me back some salted licorice.
I will say one little quick plug. At the CIA, California Institute of Abnormal Arts, we have a wear-a-thon coming up on December 13th. 3D horror movies, all werewolf movies from the 30s and 40s. Sid Terror's Haunted Film Vault. And Sid Terror was actually involved in when we screened Blood Diner first time in San Francisco. We did the Virgin Sacrifice. And he said, man, we got to use a real virgin next time. I said, good luck finding that in San Francisco.
All right, folks,
Anyway,
thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Blood Diner. All right, folks, thanks for coming down.
Oh.